John, I just wanted a voice check. Voice check. John? Better? Louder, John? If you can hear me, the mayor can hear me on County Street. Oh, wherever. One, two, one. You can hear this? I could go, I'll take it out later. You can hear this? You come through. I'm not gonna. How you doing? What I'm gonna have you. After John gives his reflections, I'm gonna have them women sing "God Bless America." Now I'm gonna announce all of this ahead of time, but not individually. After "God Bless America," there'll be a rifle salute and taps, and then you. So after you hear the taps, if you can stand over here, count to 10 after the taps, walk in there, walk around the circle slowly, and then walk out that way between those people. Hope they move their legs. They're kind of close, aren't they?
So I can go up the center aisle and out if that's it. If there was no place.
Look, you walk the center aisle. Oh, I want you to come in the center aisle.
Yeah.
Go out here, go that way, and then start walking down that way. Just go down that road.
Sounds good.
And then they'll retire the colors when they start fading off.
Very good.
Okay.
How have you been?
Good. I have my checkbook with me tonight, so.
Yeah, I'll see you whenever.
Okay.
No worries.
Okay.
We'll catch up. Doing well?
Been well. Whoop. Not that well.
5 minutes or less? More or less? Approximately.
Boy Scout.
Detail, halt. 1, 2. To the right. Face. Present. Arms.
Post the colors.
Detail, left face. Order. Up. Port arms. Back.
I want to thank the North American Legion, Post 49, for posting the colors and being with us every year. Please welcome John Boucher, who started this 150 years ago, it seems. John, for your opening remarks, please. John?
Good evening, everyone. You may be seated. There's just so many things to say this evening. I had to write it down because I know my memory isn't like it used to be. But in any case, good evening. Tonight, we gather to remember our heroes and to express our continued support in thoughts of them. Tonight, we again commit ourselves to bring to the forefront the fact that they are waiting to be found and brought back to their families. To remind our leaders that the missing are not forgotten and that we will not just fade away. For the past 15 years, we have presented the facts, not wishy-washy statements that will only lead to an insignificant note in the history books, but a strong voice from these men who have been silent for so long. We are their voice, and will continue until they are all found and returned. We must continue to fight for them as they so valiantly fought for us. And over the years, there has been many returned from World War II, Korea, and Vietnam because of the efforts of groups like us. Since World War II, there has been 83,000 personnel lost and listed as missing. 83,000. This year today, this year, only 29 have been found and returned home to their families. Vietnam alone has 1,641 missing veterans that are still listed as missing. And our state of Massachusetts has 39 residents of Massachusetts that are missing. Tonight, we will remember and honor our veteran heroes that were lost by being here in solidarity to show our support for them and realizing that by the grace of God, it could be you or I. And also tonight, we have here Mr. Nasani. He will speak at about the 9/11 segment. And as you know, his own son, Sean, was lost along with our own beloved Lynn Goodchild. That tragic day. These innocent civilians were taken away from us by cowards who still lurk at our back door. Myself and the Remembrance Committee ask for the support and prayers for the families who are still in distress. Also, your prayers are needed for the new reformation of our government's POW MIA search teams, as well as their leadership, who have recently been taken to task for inadequate search operations and mismanagement. We must preserve to make sure that the missing are returned to their homeland and that our government does the job for those who wait. They did theirs. We must and never should have left them behind and to be forgotten. Thank you.
We have a representative of Boy Scout Troop 15 who will lead us all in the Pledge of Allegiance. Would you please rise?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, liberty and justice for all.
We're fortunate today to have with us Robbie Devental. I know I mispronounced the name. Come up, Robbie. Who will sing the Pledge of Allegiance for, will sing the national anthem for us.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
To give us the opening invocation is an old friend of mine, Father Phil Silwa. He was here last year. And I gave you his biography last time, but I want to highlight a couple of things because I think it's important for those people who don't know him. March 1970 was a day that was changed his life forever. The most important change was the promise he made to God in the middle of a Vietnam battlefield while leading a rescue mission. The second change was receiving the Silver Star. He kept his promise to God. In June 1984, Father Silwa was ordained a Catholic priest. He kept the promise made in one of the darkest periods of his life. So now a man known only as Phil, is now known and loved as Father Phil. He's a national chaplain for the Vietnam Veterans of America. He works as head of chaplains for the VA Boston, and many of you have met him, I'm sure, many years ago when he was an administrator at La Salette Shrine. Please welcome Father Phil Silois.
It so happens that that my VVA chapter in North Smithfield, Rhode Island, is dedicated to a POW from Woonsocket, the only one from Woonsocket who never came home, James Michael Ray, and we're going to be rededicating his memorial this coming Wednesday. So it should be a wonderful event. So I don't think he'll ever come home because I think they've already put a graveside in Arlington for him, declared him dead. Let us pray. Lord, shelter the prisoners of war and those missing in action from the war in Southeast Asia, and those of other wars in Korea, Europe, the Far East, and the Middle East. Open the hearts and minds of their captors, that they may be restored to their homes and loved ones. Each has carried the burden of battles. Each has discharged the duties of the obligation to their country. Each has been subjected to hazard, pain, and imprisonment beyond the lot of a soldier. O Lord, these gallant men and women who bear so great a burden must not be forgotten or forsaken. God of justice, to whom we pray, your compassion we beseech, lift their burdens, give them strength, and strike the shackles that deny them freedom. And we make this prayer in your holy name, O Lord. Amen.
Do we have any ex-POWs here this evening, or any men or women who served in Iraq, Afghanistan? Any goals? Will you please be seated? The next segment we call the 9/11 segment, and people have asked me, why? Why do we relive the tragedy and horror of the attack in our country? Why do we do this? It's certainly not to relive those painful days, nor to remember our agony and sorrow we felt and still feel, but to keep the memory alive, the memory of those innocent men and women who from all over the world lost their lives on that tragic day. Most especially, we need to remember the deep loss in our own community, the loss of those who were so dear to us. Today we honor the memory of Sean Nassani and Lynn Goodchild. They will always be part of this community and in our hearts. Honor God. Host. Please welcome Ellen and Bill Goodchild and Pat and Margaret Nassani. Take the mic, Pat.
Center, peace. Parade, peace.
Thank you for having the opportunity to speak to you again. And it's been 13 years since we first went to war against terrorism. And once again, we're being asked to extend that war to another group of terrorists. And a lot of people, like myself, I'm sure, ask yourselves, well, who are these people? What makes them terrorists? So I did a little bit of research, and come to find out, it all started in 656, where they had a Shia and a Sunni split in the Islam faction. 1,500 years later, they're still fighting. And don't blame the people, but you got to blame the leaders, the people who put them at risk. I mean, the Iranian-Iraq war, they lost 1 million people in 8 years, counting combatants and civilians. So reflecting on that and thinking of our country, we are very fortunate. We are fortunate in that we have amongst us today police, representatives of the fire department, and our government. They are chosen, elected, and so many of them picked to do this job, to protect and serve us. Obviously, the people in the Middle East don't have that. They don't have that compulsion to protect their people. And as a result, we are where we are today. So what I ask everyone to do is to keep in mind that through the voices, POW, MIA, we can hold our government and our elected officials responsible. And that when they choose to put our sons and daughters in harm's way to protect us, to serve us, they're also held responsible by us in finding them and bringing them home. And for that, we're thankful, and with due diligence, we will continue to do so. Thank you.
I want to thank you all for being here this evening. I know it's bringing up old wounds, but I think we all appreciate the fact that you come here and share that with us. Honor Guard, will you post the honor guard?
Detail. Obtain. Who? Center. Peace. Forward. Who?
Did you want to? Follow me. I'll do that. We're fortunate this evening to have some of the local elected officials with us this evening. Will you please welcome Senator James Timblety? Oh, I thought I saw him. No, okay. Well, I guess we don't have to welcome. I thought I saw him here. I know you're here, Dick. Please welcome Senator Ross, please. Richard Ross. I saw Timothy yesterday at the golf match that I was on. So
Thanks, Tom. Yeah, we really don't look a lot alike, but... Good evening, everybody. It is an honor to be here tonight amongst all of these people who, in their own ways, have been touched not only by the wars that we've fought, but by the terrorism that's been launched upon our country. And in many ways, the Goodchilds and the Nasanis, although the pain doesn't go back to 656 or whatever, they certainly are emblematical of the new wave of terrorism that has reached our shores. I can't get over how thankful I am that you do continue to come out and open your heart publicly, because a lot of people don't really get to the point that they can actually lead and share on these matters in such a short period of time. And it's 13 years, yes, but still, to have you in our presence, we're humbled, we're honored, and I can't believe it's been 13 years already. I think the other things that we have to recognize as well is we have all of these fine servicemen and women who are in your midst here in the community who went off to war. Many, as we're learning tonight, are still missing in action. 89,000 people is a lot of people. It's more than double the population of the city missing in action still, whose loved ones never give up hope, even though there probably is none. They still hope somewhere in their heart that their loved one or their remains will be found, and they can finally have the chapter in their life that's been left laid bare and open heal and close. We're here to, I guess, bear testimony again to that commitment we have as Americans to never forget those people that put themselves in harm's way, who are missing, and who we had pledged we would find. So I do commend the valiant effort that we still make in Vietnam, other places around the world, or Iraq and Afghanistan, or even the hope from people from World War II that we somehow will find their remains and give them a suitable burial and a proper remembrance. Again, I want to thank the Goodchilds and the Sanis, and thank you for being here tonight. Thank each and every one of our citizens who turn out to respect these folks and to give them honor as well, and to once again say thank you to all who have served. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
I think both of them should be upset. Until I thought he was here. We're also lucky to have Attleboro's representative to the General Court with us this evening. Paul Hero, would you please come to the mic?
Good evening. It's a real honor and pleasure to be here this evening. And when I stop and think about the events of September 11th and how that ties into us today, you know, we have soldiers, you know, men in arms going back to the Middle East because of the events that are going on there now. And they have families here worried about them. You know, sometimes the families here were depending upon them to, you know, help pay the bills when they're away. And now they're gone. You know, some of them are returning back to the Middle East. We do our part at the local and state levels and at the federal levels to try and help those families so that they have one less thing to worry about as they're defending, you know, our way of life, so that we can come together on a night like this and honor the Nancy family and the Goodchild family and the 3,000 other victims of September 11th. But there's sometimes folks, you know, our soldiers, they don't always come home, and, you know, they've oftentimes paid the ultimate sacrifice. But it's our work together that gives us the ability to have an evening like this. So with that, you know, I just want to say thank you, you know, for, you know, your time here. Thank you for letting me speak, and, you know, I appreciate, you know, the honor to be able to be here as well with you. Have a good day.
Thank you, Paul. President of the City Council, Frank Cook, would you come up with any other members of the City Council as well? Welcome, Frank.
Good evening. Before I begin, I just wanted to recognize the other members of the City Council who could be here this evening. To my right is Vice President Peter Blair. To my left is Councilor Heather Praker and Councilor Walter Thibodeau. I also bring greetings from the mayor, who could not be here this evening, but he asked me to express his appreciation for those who annually put on this event. And on a personal note, I want to thank Tom Tully and John Bouchard, the others who are responsible for annually putting on this particular event. I also want to recognize Connie from Veterans Office also. Of all the things that this city does on an annual basis, I view this as one of the most important. beyond being very important, it's probably the most solemn event that we have annually in this city. And I think that the cause of the POW MIA was something that was known to a lot of us. But then after the events of 9/11 and the impact it had when we lost our own Lynn and Sean, it made it even more important. And I appreciate those families being here and for the words of Sean's father this evening. Thank you. As I was thinking about this event, reminded of the importance of our servicemen and women, and also those who wear a different uniform, those of our police officers and our firefighters, who on that horrible day in September, several years ago, some 13 years ago, became more important in our daily lives, and the importance that they bring to our community in terms of protecting us on a daily basis, and their sacrifice and service, like those of our servicemen and women, can never be fully expressed, and I don't think we can adequately thank them for the service that they performed for us. You know, in every war, as was mentioned earlier tonight, there are always prisoners of war, and there are always missing in action. But it was the Vietnam War that really drove that point home, the fact that there were so many that were left behind. Many of you here tonight served in that war. There are some here who perhaps served in World War II, and those numbers are dwindling, sadly, very fast. There are also those who served in Korea, and more recently in a lot of the wars over in the Mideast. We are reminded daily that we live in a very dangerous world. And the horrors that we witnessed on 9/11 are right there, as was mentioned earlier, lurking at the back door. And thank you for those words, Father. As I was also thinking about tonight, I was reading this week a little bit about about Arlington National Cemetery. I was thinking back that the first time that I ever went there, I was 4 years old. I can remember it. I was 4 years old. And my parents had taken me there. I remember my dad took movies, which we still have. My dad was a veteran of World War II, having served with Patton's Third Army in Europe. And at that, and many of you probably have been there, but at the Tomb of the Unknown Soldiers, there are soldiers who continue to guard that precious monument 24 hours a day, 365 days a year. The members who guard that have to go through a very unique training. They're all members of the 3rd Infantry Regiment, also known as the Old Guard, stationed out of Fort Myers, Virginia. And it's very interesting to read about their the training and the drilling and all the preparation they have to go through to even get into that particular elite unit. As we know, since 1921, an unknown soldier, or serviceman known but to God, is buried there. And in 1984, the remains of a serviceman from the Vietnam War was brought home, and on Memorial Day 1984, with President Reagan presiding, the funeral service was conducted. And at that ceremony, that unknown soldier was actually presented with the Medal of Honor. In the late 1990s, with the advancement and development of science, the body was exhumed, and they actually conducted a DNA test, and they found out that it was actually the body of a young Air Force First Lieutenant, Michael Joseph Blassie. And at that point, the body was removed. And to this day, the tomb of the Vietnam unknown soldier remains in that crypt empty. But on that tomb are these words: honoring and keeping faith with America's missing servicemen, 1958 to 1975. And this ceremony that we have every year is an honor to that, and also a reminder of what we're doing. We are remembering, and we're working to see that these people are brought home safely. So I thank you all for coming. I thank again those who put on this service annually. And again, I just ask that we continue to remember this. And may God bless our nation and our city. Thank you very much.
Our keynote speaker this evening was in Vietnam in 1970, assigned to the 6th Battalion, 14th Artillery, 1st Field Forces. He only spent 19 months on active duty, 14 of which were in Vietnam. In the late 70s, 1979, he and other Vietnam vets and some Korean War vets formed the Taunton Area Vietnam Veterans Association. They decided that Vietnam vets needed to be respected for their service to their country. They didn't want anyone to forget those sacrifices, and he wanted to help other Vietnam veterans and their families to pursue their interest and to take care of their needs. In 1983, he formed the POW portion of that committee, and they've been holding active meetings and active ceremonies in Taunton ever since. Please welcome Dennis Prue. Dennis, thanks for coming.
Need my cheaters. Sign of getting old. First of all, I'd like to thank you for having me here. It's an honor to be here. This ceremony is a wonderful thing that you are doing, remembering those that lost their lives in 9/11 and also those that are still POW MIAs. These are things that cannot be forgotten and will never be forgotten thanks to devoted people like this committee that organized this. How many people here were on the committee that organized this? Raise your hand. You're doing a great job, and I commend you on that. My group, myself, and members of the group, we've been doing ceremonies for 32 years. It's a difficult job, organizing, getting people enthusiastic about it, but somebody's got to do it. Keep it up. Keep up the good work. When John Bouchard asked me to speak, he said, why not mention how we met? Next time we ran into each other, I said to John, it was so long ago, I can't remember. All I know is it had to be a POW MIA ceremony or a Vietnam veteran event. But we've been friends for many, many, many years. A little history about my group, the Taunton Area Vietnam Veterans Association. We have been incorporated since 1983, but we started forming in the late 70s. We were tired of not being treated like veterans. We were disrespected, even though we did our job just like as all other veterans in all other wars. It was all because of we started because of the Vietnam veteran was so awful, everybody hated the war, they hated the veterans from there. And that was wrong. The veterans, the soldiers, go where they're told to go. They were told to go to Vietnam, they went there. They did their job just as well as any other veteran in any other war. How many Vietnam veterans out there? Raise your hand. I remember the father, we met many years ago, right? I remember. Welcome home. Welcome home. Myself and 4 other Vietnam vets and a Korean War vet created bylaws and goals and purposes. We decided to be our own independent group and not a chapter of any other group. Our purposes were to never let anyone forget Vietnam and all those that died and were wounded there, to educate people on Vietnam, help Vietnam vets and their families, represent Vietnam vets in parades and other events, and pursue the POW MIA issue. We have done well to stay together for so many years. 32 years we've been together, this group. We are well respected in the community. We have scholarships for local students. We have an Adopt a Highway program. We give to lots of charities. And just recently we started a program to send a Vietnam vet who's never been to the wall in D.C. We're going to be sending a gentleman and his wife 4 days, 3 nights in D.C., all expenses paid. We feel as though that, we feel as though that some need to go to the wall. Some avoid it, but they need to go to the wall to feel better, to put their hand on that wall, feel their buddies. Their buddies are in that wall, guaranteed. They're there. It's quite a respected area. It's so solemn. It's wonderful. and it's a healing. It's a healing to go there. Ever since 1983, we have had a POW MIA Day for 32 years. The last Sunday in March was proclaimed POW MIA Day in the city of Taunton. And we also had a vigil since that time in September. We started having POW MIA Days and vigils before they even had a national POW MIA Day. In fact, our vigil is going on right now. It started at noontime today. We're going to be there until noontime tomorrow for a closing ceremony. And what we do is we have enlarged dog tags with the names of each POW MIA from Massachusetts, from Vietnam, and every half an hour we read that name. We hang the dog tag on a parachute cord that goes around our Vietnam Memorial, and it's being hung up. The cord is wrapped around bamboo stakes. And on the dog tag has the name, the rank of the person, when the person was lost, the town they came from, and where they were lost: Cambodia, Laos, Vietnam. After the name and the information is read, a flag is placed under each dog tag and a hand salute given, and "Missing in action, sir," is bellowed out. We all take turns doing it, and we also ask people that are there to view us to help us out. We have them do it. We find that people remember it more by participating with us. They leave with a good feeling that they helped. When we had our first ceremony, there were 2,400 POW MIAs left in Southeast Asia, of which 60 were from Massachusetts. Presently, there are 1,641 and 39 from our state, which includes one civilian, but prior to him being a civilian, he was a soldier in Vietnam. We also remember the 80,000 plus from our previous wars. We often wondered what would have happened if we and all the other groups like yours had started the POW MIA issue earlier in the 70s. We are very certain from all the live sightings then that there were still live POWs over there after the North Vietnamese released the POWs that you all saw on TV. Well, that's something we'll never know. We all have spent decades trying to keep this issue in the spotlight. Early on, trying to get people's attention was like pulling teeth. Unless you were directly affected by the issue, there was no interest. We quickly learned the definition of apathy: out of sight, out of mind. We tried all kinds of gimmicks, releasing balloons with little tags on them that you could send to your elected officials. That didn't last long because we were told that we may interfere with airplanes and some animal might eat the balloon and choke. Yeah, right. The next thing we did, we got a big U.S. and a POW MIA flag, figuring that people driving by would see it and stop and listen to what we had to say. It was a start. It worked. We got people. I remember at one of our ceremonies, an elected official, instead of saying POW MIA, he said "Power Mia." So that we pulled him aside and straightened him out very quickly. One year we decided to build a miniature wall like in Washington, D.C. In fact, it's similar to the one John has over here. In fact, he copied our wall. We have two parts to it. We put them together to look like a V, like at the wall. We put the names of the POW MIAs from Massachusetts and put a diamond shape next to their names, just like the wall in D.C. And whenever the remains came home, we put a little cross in the middle. So we also made a bamboo cage one time. A lot of other groups used it, you know. It was quite the thing, but we don't have it anymore because we're all too old and too fat to get in it. And one time we had an eternal flame. You know, it was a nice big block with a chimney, an internal flame. It was run by propane gas. Well, one time we were in a parade, And you know how parades go. They move along, they stop, they move. Well, we happened to be underneath a tree one time, and we started the tree on fire. So we ditched that. But we corrected that. About 3 or 4 years ago, we replaced the propane with a fake flame. It's electric and it has a blower and it looks just like a real flame. Much safer. We learned that we have to come up with new things all the time to attract people. We could offer something like free food and we'd have droves of people. Yes, it's tough to pursue this issue, but we have to do it. People don't understand why we care so much. Well, it seems all those that were in the service understand. How many were in the service? Raise your hand. Okay. Thank you for your service. You get close to those you are with. They may be the one to save your life, and you may be the one to save their lives. There is a common bond amongst us. There is a saying with Vietnam vets, we are not home until all are home. I'm sure you've heard that many times. Right, Father? Yeah. This past year, there were many World War II and Korean remains returned. Seems like every month there's 2 or 3. Great. We are very happy for their families and friends that their soldiers are finally home and at rest where they belong. But we have noticed that there were very few Vietnam vets remains coming back. So we checked the National League of Families of POW MIAs, their website. And on the website, we saw something interesting. And I think John alluded to it earlier. They were saying that there were many problems within JPAC, Joint POW MIA Accounting Command. Field operation had been canceled in Southeast Asia because of complications relating to timely funding, not with shortages of fund, but with internal mishandling of contractual authorities by some in JPAC with no mission experience. That was quoting from the National League of Families site. Sounds like mismanagement to me. Bottom line, no field operations, no search for remains. This has to be corrected as soon as possible. Many of us have dedicated decades to this issue. We can't let it be stalled now. We get asked all the time, aren't you tired of doing this? Yeah, we're tired. We're getting older. We can't do what we were able to do years ago. Getting old. Then of course the next question is, why don't you stop? To quote a friend of mine from down south, a friend of mine, a Vietnam vet, hell no. Hell no, we won't stop. We will continue as long as someone can hold a POWMI flag and wave it. We'll keep going. What we do is a small sacrifice to pay compared to all the hardships the families have to go through every day. Thank all of you so much for listening to me. I would like to take this opportunity to invite all of you to visit our vigil over in Taunton on Church Green. We're there all night tonight. Every half an hour we're reading a name of a POW. We're putting a dog tag and a flag in, and we'll be there till noontime tomorrow, where we'll have a closing ceremony and everything. And if you can stop by for a few minutes, we'd appreciate it. I'd like to end with these words. Bring them home, and God bless America. Thank you for your time. Thank you very much. I do have some programs from our vigil if you're interested. I'll be over here, and I'll give them to you if you want. Thank you.
John, would you come to the podium, please? We have some Boy Scouts and we have some candles. Connie, would you want to help out? We only have 1 or 2 Boy Scouts. Lenore, would you want to pass out those candles? And you're going to start here. You're going to read all the names and all that stuff, right?
Right.
And then when you're through, you can give your closing remarks.
Yeah. What we're going to be doing is lighting candles in remembrance of the 39 MIAs from the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. And this is our annual candlelight ceremony. It seems as though it's been quite a few years since we last put a star next to one of the names you see over here on the board. The star represents that they were found and were brought home to their families. The rest of the names have been on there. We're hoping that they'll be found and brought home. While I mention it, while the candles are being lit, if you're so inclined, they have bracelets in remembrance of our MIAs, not only from the Commonwealth but also throughout the country. So you can go online through POWfamilies.org. They have them. You can look at their bios, find out which one you'd like to represent, and purchase one. It's an honorable thing. And I guess they're still lighting, so I'll talk a little longer. I carried a bracelet for many years. Joe Cook from Foxborough, he was found, and myself and another individual brought our bracelets to the wake funeral and presented it to their last of kin. It was quite a thing. They allowed us to walk the side of the hearse to the burial ground and the final interment. It meant a lot to me, and I think about it now, the hair comes up in the back of my neck. Now I carry another individual from Stoughton, Marine, of course, and he's been missing for 1968, the time I was in Vietnam, and we're hoping that he'll be found. Without further ado, let us remember our missing in action from the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. Raymond Bruce Baxter, Eugene Paul Baresic, Kenneth Allen Berube, William Warren Bowles, Peter Russell Bott, Deverton C. Cochran, Joseph Patrick Dunn, William D. Frawley, Roger Conrad Gagan, Richard Campbell Graves, Joseph G. Greenleaf, Robert H. Gribb, Richard K. Hopper, Robert D. Hauer, John Robert Henn, Henry Howard Heron, Hugh David Holmes, Daniel Martin Kelly, Everett O. Kerr, Paul Chester King Jr., Gerald Francis Kinsman, Michael J. Costigan, John Murray Lever Jr., Henry Elmer McCann, James A. Magnuson Jr., Arthur V. McLaughlin Jr., Carlton Pierce Miller Jr., Richard G. Morin, William Francis Mueller, John F. Overlook, John Robert Painter Jr., Edward Francis Rogers, James J. Sansone, William M. Smith, Martin Joseph Sullivan, Robert J.C. Todd, Orion J. Walker, and finally, but not least, Monique Wheats. This red candle represents, with respect, the victims of 9/11, the 92 killed from Massachusetts, and especially for our own Lynn Goodchild and Sean Nassani. The white candle represents peace. And this blue candle represents unity. And the red candle represents hope. And today, let's remember the four who died in Libya and those from Iraq and Afghanistan. And for all the veterans who have been wounded, both physically and mentally, from the wars that our country has participated in. Okay, I can do that too. I will do that too. Okay.
Just move this out of the way. Okay. All right. Do that too. 7:24.
All right. The final reflections of tonight is this. This concludes our yearly Remembrance event. I thank you for being here and look forward to seeing all of you again next year. And I would encourage anyone who would be interested in joining our committee, please see me after this get-together tonight. In closing, I am reminded of the government and military and their responsibility to protect us. We think of all the men and women who made the ultimate sacrifice in the Middle East with their lives and their loss of limbs. Please continue to pray for victory and their safe return home. We must also remember to evaluate them when they come home. Right now, it is realized that 22 veterans a day commit suicide. This is unconscionable. If you think that they are depressed, if you notice that they're giving away their belongings, unusually quiet, please contact the VA hospital immediately. You could very well save their lives. Good night, everyone, and God bless you all.
John said this is the end of our ceremony. And the way we like to end, we'll ask Dina Warner to come up to the podium, and she's going to sing 2 verses of God Bless America. The second verse, we want to hear every one of your voices. Followed by a rifle salute from the North Attleboro American Legion, followed again by taps, followed by the bagpiper, and then we will retire the colors. Please welcome Dina Warner to the podium.
God bless America, land that I love. Stand beside her and guide her America, land that I love. Stand beside her and guide her through the night with the light from above, from the mountains to the prairies, to the oceans white with foam. God bless America, my home, sweet home. God bless America, my home, sweet home.
Moving uniforms, feedback. Order. Thank you all so much again for being here. If you don't come, maybe we won't. So keep coming. Thank you very much.
I hope.